Well, South African teens can get the COVID-19 jab from next Wednesday. 12 to 17-year-olds will get a single dose of the two-dose Pfizer vaccine. The Health Department says in terms of the Children's Act, they will not need parental consent. Now, let's discuss this now with Rudzani Muloiwa from UCT's Paediatric and Child Health Department. Firstly, we would like your reaction to the announcement from the Minister that this age group will be given only one dose of the Pfizer vaccine for now. Now, what are your thoughts on the decision for one dose instead of two?
Thank you, Baron, and thank you for this opportunity. There have been very good reasons for deciding to go with one dose as opposed to two doses. As you may very well have heard, even as the Minister was speaking yesterday, that there have been some evidence of myocarditis, which is a swelling of the heart muscles, that even if it's short-lived, it's not a desirable side effect. And giving only one dose has not been shown to have that high risk of that myocarditis. And by giving one dose, it allows sufficient time to see if any evidence of this phenomenon is actually accruing so that we can know how to go forward. The one dose that is going to be given is good enough to protect against severe disease and certainly hospitalization. So it is a good decision to be cautious when you're introducing a new vaccine in a new population that has not had that, especially if there have been some kind of signals for concern. So I think that's a good idea to go that route.
Well, let's talk about this. This is a very important one, parental consent. Looking at the challenges that we've been having in the country with regards to vaccine hesitancy, do you foresee some hesitancy on the part of parents allowing this age group to be vaccinated, even though technically they don't need parental permission to get the jab? And when I say technically, of course, I don't think a 12-year-old can actually give consent for themselves to get the jab, but I think 16 and 17 are allowed to. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so the issue of hesitancy has been a real issue. It's been a real issue all over the world right now. We have seen that more and more people are being afraid of taking the COVID vaccines. And of course, it's quite understandable. And we need to in a way, anticipate that it may very well also happen with this age group. I mean, you can almost bet that any of these children would be taking cues from their parents. And if the parents are afraid or hesitant, they would obviously not want their children to have the same vaccine that they themselves would not have. But all it highlights, Baron, is our need to actually engage meaningfully with all groups of our population. We need to engage with concerns that parents may have, not just for their children, but for themselves as well. Because without doing that, the program of rolling out these vaccines to all age groups is not likely to be very successful.
But, Prof, can a 12-year-old get the jab without a parent's consent? Or is it just 16 and up? Well,
the age groups that, if you know, in South Africa, even with termination of pregnancy, the ones that are as young as 12 years old can be able to assent or even give consent for themselves to actually have a vaccine. I'm not sure in this case of public health how far we need to go with respect to that. Certainly older children have the right to refuse or accept treatment. And I think what is important is to realize that a child who is able to comprehend and understand when something is explained to them, which is why education is also important in this age group, will have the right to refuse or to accept any intervention that is done to them.
All right. Now, just how important is it to have, conversations around the importance, the safety and effectiveness of vaccines, especially when it comes to this age group and children in general?
I think it's very, very important for the whole population. I mean, we always forget that we've been using vaccines for hundreds of years now, and the last 50 years has seen an increase in the number of vaccines that we use. Most of our children will actually have received vaccines. And if you think about it, parents are most likely to be worried about their newborn baby. And in the newborn period, our vaccine coverage with that first dose against TB, as well as the first dose against polio, is very, very high, almost almost close to 100%. When parents have not been concerned about it because vaccines work and they actually protect those that they're given to. So we need education to actually remove the noise from this conversation that should actually be much more clearer than what it seems now. There's a lot of noise, a lot of misinformation. And for this age group, I think it's important that we use all the resources that we have, including our school infrastructure, to be able to talk to these young people, to be able to educate them, and also in the same time be better in how we communicate issues about vaccine safety to their parents as well.
Now, the Minister of Health, Joe Phaahla, said while assessing information, they have noted that in a few cases all over the world, there have been some short-lived cases of transient myocarditis. Exactly what is this transient myocarditis?
Myocarditis means swelling of the heart muscle. And that can happen in this case. It's speculated that as part of the immune system that is stimulated by the vaccine, it may have had some impact on the cells, on the heart, causing some swelling of the heart. The reason it's called transient is that it's not been shown to last for a very long time. Sometimes when you've got swelling of the heart, it may lead to long-term consequences, but not in this case, which is why it's called transient. And the reason why it's been seen with the second dose is that the second dose is the one that boosts that immunity that would have been triggered by the first dose of the vaccine. And by omitting that until we know what's going on, it reduces that risk, because that swelling is related to that the body responding vigorously to the second dose after having been primed with the first dose. But the transient part, Baroness mentioned, means that this has not been shown to last for a very long time, and the children that in whom this has been observed, they return back to normal and their heart goes to working completely normal.
Thank you so much. That was Head of Department of Paediatric and Children Health at the UCT, Professor Rudzani Muloiwa. Now, of course, we will be discussing more this topic more thoroughly on ENCA, so do stay tuned, especially when it comes to, parental consent. I think that's a very big topic that will be discussed here on the channel. You do not want to miss it. 12 to 17-year-olds now being eligible to get the jab. One shot of the Pfizer jab. Of course, the big question is, can they get the jab without a parent's consent?